Just a little over a week left in October, which means Penn State wrestling right around the corner. But before that, a couple of landmarks for the offseason still remain, or we have to get through, and that's what we're going to be doing on today's show. We have the Super 32 to recap, and of course, U23 Worlds to preview coming up on the Penn State Wrestling Show. I'm Thomas Frank Carr here on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel. And of course, our wrestling reporter, Greg Pickel, here to deliver you all the information, give you all the insight, give you the context of what's going on, and have a good conversation about the Nittany Lions during a year where on one of our other shows, somebody said, can we just talk about wrestling? Because that would be a lot more exciting than talking about the football team. So here we are talking about the wrestling team here on the Wrestling Show. And of course, if you're watching, please subscribe here to the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel. We'll be doing this throughout the wrestling season to bring you some more positivity, a little more Penn State pride for you here on this side with a team that is always successful during their regular season. So, Greg, welcome to the show. What's been going on since the last time you and I had a conversation?
Yeah, Penn State wrestling inching closer to getting back on the mat to start its national title defense in 2025-2026, of course, under the direction of longtime head coach Cale Sanderson. Before that, though, there is one more international championship for this Penn State members of this Penn State team to go to, and the members of the Penn State coaching staff will, of course, be there as well as the Nittany Lions take up 7 of the 10 starting spots on Team USA's men's freestyle team at the U23 World Championships, which are this coming weekend in Serbia. So we're going to get to that at the end of the show, but let's start on the high school front, T. Frank. So last we talked, we discussed the fact that Landon Sidun had committed to Penn State, a class of 2027 top recruit, number 4 according to Matt Scout's big board for that class. Norwin, PA native who broke his hand and had his sophomore season cut short. Visited a bunch of different schools, ended up picking Penn State. Returned to the mat at Who's Number 1, which was now 2 weeks ago roughly in Iowa. Ended up beating Rockland Zinkin there of California to confirm or retain, or however you want to put it, his number 1 spot at 120 pounds. So we thought he was going to go to Super 32 next, but those two events very close together. And you're talking about a lot of travel, got to make weight again, blah, 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 on and on. So Landon Sidun and a number of other guys scratched out of Super 32. So yeah, he was not one of the Penn State. Yeah, go ahead.
It just seems like Super 32 is kind of in a situation where you've got the U23s coming up and you had this other tournament. So it's kind of the one that, if you're going to choose, like this was the one that unfortunately a lot of guys chose to go to other places and compete in other things.
Yeah, so you got the high school guys like, Jack Forrest, who is, going to be at U23s, if I'm not mistaken. It's been one of those weeks. There's no doubt about that. But, yeah, so Super 32, still a great event. No doubt about it. Still a fantastic event. Very good. Very good group of wrestlers on hand, including 2 Penn State commits in Sam Herring and Gavin Mangano, who, based on the pre-seeds, looked likely to meet in the semifinals. It's exactly what happened. Herring, Bishop McCort, Standout, Johnstown, PA, class of 2026, Penn State commit, was the 2 seed. Gavin Mangano, the second joining Sidun, class of 2027 commit for Penn State Wrestling at the moment, was the number 3 seed. They met in the semifinals, as expected. Sam Herring scored a 4-2 win before going on to lose 1-0 to Minnesota 2026 commit Tyler Dekraker, who I think is now in Florida or Virginia. He's changed states a couple times during his high school career. But at any rate, losing to him 1-0. So Herring finishes second at Super 32 at 138 pounds. Mangano finishes third at Super 32 at 138 pounds. And so, yeah, a good tournament for those guys, and certainly unless something changes between the two of them and their future plans, will be guys that scrap in the room moving forward at Penn State.
So anything to take before we get into U23s, anything you want to finish up there? Because I know that's going to be primarily what we talk about on the show today, with so many of the wrestlers going to be at U23.
Yeah, so, I mean, certainly when you look at this Super 32, again, results, there were some guys that performed very well that will maybe eventually commit to Penn State. So plenty of names to know, a lot of high school wrestling action starting to get rolling here across the U.S. And the same goes, of course, for the college wrestling scene. But as we noted, there's one more big international event to come. We've talked previously on this show this year about the World Championships, Senior Worlds, obviously the U20 World Championships, the U17 World Championships, which Jade and James won earlier this year. And now it's time for U23s to close things out on the international stage.
Yeah, so take us through. I know there's a lot of names to get to and a lot of previews. So what are you looking for this weekend, correct, with U23?
Yeah, so I guess let's just start with this. Like I said earlier, there's 7 of the 10 starters for Team USA at U23 Worlds are Penn State guys. So very impressive group of guys who will be outside of State College while the rest of their teammates are in State College training for, obviously the 2025-2026 college season. I don't have the workout partners in front of me, but I'm assuming the list of Team USA travel members includes some more Penn State wrestlers who are going as, workout partners, things like that for this tournament. We'll see Casey Cunningham, Jordan Conway, Cody Sanderson, Cale Sanderson, Adam Lynch all over there with the Team USA contingent as well. So depending on when you're listening to this, we're taping it October 22nd. Bracket draw for men's freestyle at the U23 World Championships is going to happen later on Thursday, October 23rd. And then there's 3 different days of action in Serbia. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So you're going to have first group of Team USA wrestlers take the mat, obviously, on Friday for 2 weight classes. Saturday, you'll have 3, and then Sunday, you'll have 2. And these are all 2-day tournaments. So if you start Friday, you could potentially end on Saturday if you make it to the medal round. Saturday, Sunday, Sunday, Monday. Time-wise, this is always my favorite part, T. Frank. The opening matches start every day at 4 a.m. Eastern time. So
Serbia, baby.
Yeah. Yes. So, a lot of times this works out well when it's football season because a Penn State game and it, by the time you get done with the Penn State football stuff, it may not be quite 4 a.m., but it's close with the bye week for the Penn State football team, mercifully this week. We'll see what it looks like in terms of 4 a.m. coverage, but you can follow it all over at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com on the Wrestling Room message board and also the Lions Den message board. So, T. Frank, let's start with, do you want to go in order of the weight classes or in the order that they will compete at the U23 World Championship?
Let's do chronological: Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay, so Friday is going to be 74 and 92 kilograms. So that will, of course, be 2 Penn State wrestlers on the mat. Mitchell Messenbrink at 74 kilograms, the reigning 165-pound NCAA champ. At 92 is Josh Barr, who is obviously a guy that took the NCAAs by storm a little bit last year. So when you go to 74 kilograms, the one interesting thing here is that this is a pretty loaded weight class, and we know that Mitchell Messenbrink is a part of that conversation. And can you call him one of the favorites? I think he's up there. So the question is going to be this. You have a number of guys with championship experience, either at U20 or U23, moving forward. You have a former world champion, Ayagi, who's moving up to 74 kilograms from 70. And so the question is just going to be, is he a guy that is capable of, and he's from Japan, is he capable of making the move up and dominating this weight class? So that's going to be the question mark there. We'll see how the brackets draw in terms of whether Messenbrink could have to face him before the finals or not. But this is a loaded bracket, just like is the case anytime you get to this stage of the international competition. There's very few cakewalks, and there's times when either a Penn State or a Team USA wrestler looks like he is the favorite, T. Frank, but that doesn't always mean he's going to win. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. And with Messenbrink, I think he has every chance to win. But unlike the NCAA tournament, where if you go back to the shows when we previewed that and said, yeah, no one's beating that guy, not quite that level of favoritism here. And then as it relates to Barr, I think that there's no doubt that he will compete well for Penn State at this event. But, it looks to me like you have a couple guys here. You have Povanov from Uzbekistan, who's a gold medalist in U20s. So obviously he's now going up in age, and there's some other guys with past world experience here, but this bracket looks pretty open. I mean, I think that is maybe the one thing in Josh Barr's favor. I'm not sure there's a hammer favorite to point to at 92 kilograms. So it's not a coin flip to decide who will win this, and I'm not sure I'd put him among the top 2 or 3 favorites, but maybe he is. I don't know. We've not really seen what it looks like when he competes in this, this weight class at this point of his career at this stage. So don't rule him out. Don't get your hopes too high, is I guess where I would put things for Josh Barr at 92 kilograms.
Bit of an unknown going to this stage, it sounds like, in this larger stage. So then what do we got on Saturday?
All right, so Saturday is 57, 70, 79, and 125 kilograms. So if I can get my computer to work with me here, 57, Luke Lillidahl, T. Frank, 70 kilograms is going to be PJ Duke, and 79 kilograms is Levi Haynes. There's an Iowa State wrestler, Daniel Herrera, who's at 125. So a busy day for Penn State starts Saturday at these World Championships. I think Luke Lillidahl, of the group going to Serbia from Penn State, T. Frank, this week, I think Lillidahl's probably the one that you would point to as, if you made me pick a guy who could win the gold medal or maybe should win the gold medal, I think he's probably the one. I think when you look at what he's done on the freestyle scene and how much he enjoys the freestyle scene, and even though this is his first U23 Worlds, I just think that he is he's not head and shoulders above the rest, but I think he might be ahead above. And so the question could just be, at this age group level, is he strong enough? We saw that pop up at times last year. So I think he's a favorite to win at 57 kilograms, certainly. And like I said, if he was the guy, if you made me pick a guy who from the Penn State contingent was most likely to get the job done and be on the gold medal stand at the end, I think it would be him. 70 kilograms is up next, if I'm not mistaken, and that is correct. Yes. 70 kilograms, PJ Duke, standout Penn State wrestler who obviously has accomplished just about everything possible previously outside of his senior World Championships. He was at U20s. Now he's going to be at U23s. So there's a couple guys in here of note. There's Hedbatov from Alzir. We're not even just going to go there. Anyway, former U20 World Champ. There's some guys who Duke faced at U20 Worlds where he won. The guy he faced in the finals there is back in this field. So, again, he's probably number 2 on my list, T. Frank, of guys from the Penn State contingent most likely to win a medal. I think that, and if you were ranking them 1A and 1B, I think it would be fair to have Lillidahl 1A, Duke 1B, only because of the age difference between these two as it relates to wrestling at the U23 World Championships. But, you count PJ Duke out at your own risk. I've said that on this show and this channel over and over and over and over and over again. So, is he the favorite? I would say he's among them, but there may not be that much separation among the finalists. Once you get them on the mat and the brackets drawn. So last up, Levi Haynes. I think he's another guy who will have every chance to win gold here. He's going to face Yusefi of Iran probably in the finals. And I think that if you look at this bracket, those are the two most likely gold medal winners. So Saturday will likely be a very good day for Penn State wrestling connections at the U23 World Championships. And then we'll just see how it shakes out on Sunday, assuming these guys all get to the medal matches as we expect them to.
Yeah, so then the Sunday, Monday contingent, who's up there?
Sunday, Monday is 61, 65, 86, and 97. So for Team USA, when you get to 61, that is not Penn State, of course. That's Jack's Forest. So we'll start then at 65, which is Marcus Blaze, Penn State freshman, standout, obviously from the state of Ohio, who has had success on the international and, of course, the international and folk style stage before. Blaze is going to be a guy who, again, he comes into U20 Worlds off a gold medal at 61. He's bumping up now to 65. Is that good? Is that bad? We'll have to wait and see. I don't think it's necessarily the worst thing in the world. I think that cut to 61 probably is less than ideal. But, he's had a busy summer, a busy winter, so he's only lost one bout in his international career. That's a plus. When you look at this bracket, though, I think it might be the toughest one. Like, I'm just looking through some of the notes and program highlights, and you just go down the list of guys who are in this field, and Marcus Blaze is not mentioned until the 4th paragraph, and that's very rare. He's in any kind of a wrestling event, and he's not the first guy mentioned, but that just tells you how loaded this field is. So again, count them out at your own risk, but I think it comes down to bracket draw here, and can you win the bracket draw roulette in a way that puts you in the best position to get to the finals. And then once you're there, roll the dice and see what happens. So time will tell for him. And then the rest of the Sunday contingent is going to be, I just want to make sure I'm not giving out any wrong information. So they're going to finish with 86 and 97 kilograms, T. Frank. So 86 kilograms is where your last Penn State wrestling connection is. It's Rocco Welsh. Transferred into this program, of course, from Ohio State this offseason. Is expected to be the Penn State starter at 184 pounds. I look at this bracket and I don't have a ton of clue, quite frankly, where this one goes. There's not a ton of international challenge. There's not a ton of international, flavor in here outside of the two guys at the top. The French guy is a former U23 World Champ, and he will be going for his fourth U23 World Championship. So he is obviously very much the favorite here. And then after that, I think that. Can anyone get in his way? I mean, I think that after him, there's some international success in this bracket, but not a ton. So, you certainly would not make Rocco Welsh the favorite to win gold. Can he win silver? I think is probably what you're asking at this point. So, it just depends again, I think, on the bracket draw. So, all told, T. Frank, I know we're getting a little bit long here, but all told, Penn State will come home with more medals to add to its international haul from the previous championships this year. Will it be more than 3 gold medals out of 7 entrants? I would say no. But could they have 5 between gold and silver? Yeah, I think that's possible.
5 out of 7. Not too bad. So awesome preview. Thank you, Greg, for all that information. And, of course, where can people follow all this from us at Blue White Illustrated?
Yeah, so BlueWhiteIllustrated.com will have coverage Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, assuming it's needed, which I have a hard time believing it won't be. So the front page of BlueWhiteIllustrated.com will have the latest updates as the action unfolds, and you can discuss it with Penn State fans inside the Lions Den forum and also on the Wrestling Room forum by signing up for $1 for the first week over at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com.
All right, Greg, thank you so much for your time and your attention. Please make sure you get some sleep this weekend. It is the Penn State football bye weekend, and for Greg, that means great. That means I'm going to be doing more wrestling stuff. Not that there's a break for Greg. I always appreciate his hard work. So make sure you give him a follow on social media, Greg Pickel, and of course over at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com. I'm Thomas Frank Carr for Greg. We'll talk to you next time on the Penn State Wrestling Show.